Today on the That Park Place News Countdown, Ava DuVernay wants to know why she's not treated like she's Christopher Nolan. The classic attraction comes back to Epcot. Disney wonders if you'll overpay for Blu-rays if they come with a hat. Ian McKellen reveals he was at least the third choice to play Gandalf. And Disney announces their new Song of the South themed retirement community. All that and more on this episode of That Park Place. Welcome once again to all you dreamers of all ages, or ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to That Park Place. We're getting a little loose with it today for all the news that should be fun. I am just high on the success of this channel right now. When I say success, I mean it is a pleasure to work on. I don't care about the numbers. The numbers are nice, but let me be honest. This has been a blast to work on. Today, we have a great rundown of entertainment, streaming, and theme park news for you. We're hoping to bring you value every single day. By the way, if you've got anything you want us to cover, drop it in the comments. We love to hear the comments from our illustrious viewers. Vash, how are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine today, Jonas. Just got done submitting my videos for today, and we have a plethora of stories from across the net brought to you by some of our amazing contributors as part of the That Park Place network. So, without further delay, let's get started with our stories of the day.
Number 1.
Hey there, everyone. My name is Spencer Bakuli. I'm the editor and resident tokusatsu fan of Bounding Into Comics, and I come to you today to report that director Ava DuVernay is playing the tired race and gender cards in order to promote her upcoming film, Origin. Inspired by the life of Isabel Wilkerson, the first Black woman to win a Pulitzer Prize in journalism, Origins intertwines her story with the observations made in her book, Caste: The Origins of Our Discontents, wherein she argues that, quote, America today and throughout its history has been shaped by a hidden caste system, a rigid hierarchy of human rankings, end quote. In describing the project, DuVernay says of Origin, quote, it has biographical elements, so in some ways it's a biopic. In some ways, it's a docudrama. In some ways, it's just a straight up adaptation of these really beautiful and tragic moments in history, end quote. During a recent interview given to Variety in promotion of the film, DuVernay was met by reporter Angelique Jackson's own assertion that, quote, I was frustrated because it feels when there's process films about women and people of color, people are not as intrigued, end quote. Which she then followed up by inquiring, quote, I don't know that this is a fair question to ask you, but I am curious what you make of the way to get the audience in the door, because it is complicated when asking people to watch material that is challenging. In turn, DuVernay blamed the existence of this challenge not on the fact that the subject of her film is relatively unknown, but on what she perceived as the inherent racism and sexism of general audiences, particularly as they did not share the same excitement for Origin as they did for the similarly structured Oppenheimer. Said DuVernay, quote, you're right, it's challenging to watch a process film about a man making a bomb. He's a man who was trying to do something and couldn't quite describe it to anybody else, but he knew it. Isabel is a woman who knows something and can't quite describe it, but she knows it and she's gonna find it. You'll sit through 3 hours of his process. Will you sit through 2 hours of her process? I think that is the only proposition. It's not talking about the merit of the films. It's talking about the very idea of following a woman through an intellectual process, an intellectual exercise. Then you make that a Black person. Then you make that a Black woman. Is it valid enough for you to go on that journey with her? End quote. Coming from the showrunner of the CW's failed Naomi series, this rhetoric comes as no surprise. That said, I want to turn the question over to you. What do you make of DuVernay's take on process films? Do you think audiences are uninterested in Origin because they're bigots? Or could it have something to do with the fact that audiences are just unfamiliar with the film's subject, especially when compared to the infamy of Robert J. Oppenheimer?
Number 2.
Hello, I'm Lorena of Lorena Creole channel on YouTube, keeping it real when it comes to theme parks. And speaking of keeping it real, did you know the original California version of Soarin is returning to Epcot? So according to WDW Magic here, the original Soarin' over California film is going to return to the Land Pavilion starting on September 22nd. Originally opened in 2005 in Epcot, Soarin' over California sends guests on a sweeping flyover above the wondrous Golden State for a bird's eye view of the rich landscape and topography. The original Soarin' over California last played at Epcot on June 16th, 2016. And I have very, very fond memories of Soarin' over California. Now there's Soarin' around the world that's been there since 2016, late 2016, opened in June 17th, 2016 as a reboot of the original Soarin' attraction. Takes guests on 6 continents, specifically the Great Wall of China, Sydney Harbor in Australia, Monument Valley, the Great Pyramids of Egypt, Switzerland's Matterhorn Mountain, and the Eiffel Tower in Paris. So it's a nice accompaniment to the World Showcase theme of Epcot. Are you excited about the original Soaring dropping into Walt Disney World? Or are you just like, nah, I pretty much like it the way that it is? Let us know, because we would love to hear from you.
Number 3.
Hey folks, it's Culture from my own channel, Culture Casino, for That Park Place. A recent story in The Verge by Wes Davis caught my eye. You see, a cinematic treasure trove could be yours to take home. Disney is set to unveil the ultimate collector's dream on November 14th with the release of the Disney Legacy Animated Film Collection. This is an extraordinary compilation spanning a century of enchanting storytelling, featuring a staggering 100 films from both Disney and Pixar. Beginning on September 18th, when pre-orders kick off exclusively at walmart.com, be prepared to empty your piggy banks, as this lavish collection comes with a substantial price tag of $1,500. What makes this collection truly remarkable is its meticulous curation. You'll find only timeless classics like Toy Story and The Incredibles and Black Cauldron, Frankenweenie, Robin Hood, and none of that direct-to-DVD garbage that, cluttered up our media shelves when we were younger. Of course, the Disney Legacy Animated Collection here offers a visual feast with all 3 volumes of discs, each of them opening like a storybook with a poster art with release years included and memorable character quotes. Plus, it includes digital codes for every film so that you can enjoy the magic anywhere that you go. Wait. Jonas! Did I just read a commercial? No? Are you sure? Okay. So I guess the only question is, are you going to pick this up for $1,500? Or will you just hang on to what you've got?
Number 4.
Hey there, I'm Wilton the Troll from Floral from Under a Rock, and you might be wondering why I'm reading an article today, though I was rejected as a That Park Place reader. Well, when they say no, they really mean yes. This article is from Vanity Fair by Brent Lang, and it's about a movie that none of us are going to watch nor care about. But it does talk about Lord of the Rings, something we do care about, so let's see what Ian had to say about not being the first choice for a movie. I certainly wasn't the first choice for Gandalf. Tony Hopkins turned it down, Sean Connery turned it down, or certainly did. They're all coming out of the woodwork now, and I hope they feel silly. Well, Ian, Sean Connery doesn't feel nothing because he's dead, so he won't be coming out of nothing, Ian. And Anthony Hopkins, he turned it down because he's too short. That'd be dumb to have a midget Gandalf next to a freaking hobbit. And if Tony didn't turn it down for that reason, well, he should have. So what do you think? Why did Tony turn down the role allowing Gandalf to play Gandalf? And why do people only care about Ian in Lord of the Rings and X-Men?
Number 5.
Hello there, Vash Sky there, here with our last story from Walt Disney World News today. Concept art, Story Living by Disney reveals details about parks, Cotino Bay, and the center of new residential community. Story Living by Disney has shared more concept art and details about Cotino, their first community coming soon to Coachella Valley in California. The first chapter of the community will have more than 300 homes, 1/3 of which will be for adults 55 and up. If you're not familiar with Story Living by Disney, this is, well, you have some Imagineers saying that this is the successor to Epcot or whatever. That's not really the case. This was a scheme concocted actually by Bob Chapek to contract out their prestigious design firm for other developers who might be able to use their services. You can think of this as kind of like how Tokyo Disneyland, which is fully owned by the Oriental Land Company, utilizes only WDI for its design work in its parks. Similarly, this is a collaboration deal with DMB Development LLC, which is a housing developer. As part of this, the article goes into great detail about the specifics about this community. But one thing I wanted to note here was Laughing Place Ranch will be an equestrian-themed dog park with separate play areas for small and large pets. I think that's very, very interesting. If I'm not mistaken, this development should be opening by 2025, and it's actually out there in Palm Springs, interestingly enough, and I've had the pleasure of actually touring the site, and it is large and beautiful, and some of these concept images are just divine. So this should be a pretty interesting development to watch here, as it's an entirely new venture by WDI and Disney.
Hey, Vash. I cannot believe two things. First of all, you went that whole time without mentioning Celebration.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, that is true.
The previous successor to Epcot.
That's yes.
And now,
you're right.
and now Celebration is off on its own, completely separate city that happens to have its own, have a lot of Disney people living in it, and probably a board that's very amenable to Disney.
Well, and the Walt Disney Company would rather you forget about Celebration.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they feel about it.
Yeah, they made a little bit of money there, even though it was technically a failure. It was technically a success, depending on how you look at it. Laughing Place. Now, that is a name, if I'm not mistaken, that is associated with those Bre'r Rabbit and Bre'r Bear and Uncle Remus tales from Song of the South.
Isn't that interesting? Now, judging by how they're treating those specific characters in the parks, you would think that the company would want us to completely forget that Splash Mountain or even Song of the South even existed within the annals of the company. But here it is, right here, Laughing Place Ranch. And interestingly enough, while I was actually at Walt Disney World, I heard some Laughing Place music actually playing from some speakers on the ferries, boats, so forth. And I thought that was very interesting. But now, well, Laughing Place Ranch, here it is. Very interesting.
You know what's fantastic is I think that there are people at the Walt Disney Company who genuinely do not understand the history of their own intellectual property. And we have now accidentally pointed out to them that, yes, this is something that is associated with Song of the South, the thing you seem to dislike so much. So, sorry about that, Song of the South fans. Maybe we should just keep our big yaps shut. But that being said, that is the end of today's video. Thank you everyone for watching and tuning in to the That Park Place news countdown. Please follow us on social media at the channels up above. Check out our collaborators in the links below. If you would like to, you can like this video. It really helps us out. You can subscribe or even share it. We are always wanting to have that conversation with you. And please tune in tomorrow for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com for all the news that should be fun. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.